any sort of harmful movement and, going to wake up in a couple of days with things all locked up. I think that having that awareness of how you move is just so important, and being able to kind of take those red flags and course correct as needed can really help to promote safety while you're exercising.
Well, that's great info, Dane. Vic, can you walk people through what a resistance training routine should look like for the average person?
I guess the first thing you do is, if you're looking for the average person, you make sure they're healthy, they can tolerate it. And, as they always say, before you start any physical fitness, make sure your doctor approves of it. And a majority of people are healthy enough. They just need to start doing something, right? So for me, and I can tell you the concept of exercise has evolved for me. How I used to train at 18, 20 to now when I'm 49 is a lot different. And so a typical day is probably the way I'd describe it. I would go downstairs and, where I'm home now and, other than being an essential worker, I spend more time at home. It gives me the opportunity to actually do more exercise now. So, for instance, this morning I started with cardio. So I did an hour on the elliptical trainer. I put a show on and watched that. Once I got that part done, then, when my boys wake up, then we go down to the gym, and I'm fortunate to have a home gym where I generally train every day. I generally pick 10 body parts. So I will pick, a total body workout. So I'll pick a few core exercises, a few leg exercises, a few chest exercises, a few arm exercises. And it varies from day to day, so you don't get monotonous on that. And then I try and do a circuit training where I will try and do like 10 to 15 reps of it and 3 times around for 3 sets. And so that would be roughly 30. And try to do it within about 40 to 45 minutes and with very little break in between. So I'm also getting a cardio component there as well. And I find that's important for me now because I play hockey and I play soccer, and, where I don't have those opportunities with the social distancing, the hockeys are on. I find that's something that is helping my cardio and that sort of stuff. Now, for instance, if I take my 2 boys who train, they have a routine now. They're home as well all the time. They love hockey, so they go outside every day and do 200 shots. That's their training. They'll shoot pucks and shoot more pucks, and that's sports-specific training. And then my younger guy, who's 11, I'll give him a similar workout to what I have, 10 exercises, and he'll go through it, and he'll probably be done in about 20 minutes versus I take 45 minutes. But my older guy, he's more into, the 16 to 20 year age group of kind of workout. Oh, I got lots of squats. I got to put the bench press up to 300 here, get 4 reps out of it. And that's something that I certainly would not be able to do. So I think the important concept I'm making within my own family here is that each individual has to train differently. You have to train within, your goals, your physical ability, whether you're dealing with chronic illnesses and that sort of stuff. And I would say for most people, you just start with 1 or 2 exercises. Like, say today I'm going to do sit-ups and maybe add a little bit of push-ups, or maybe, hold a plank or something like that, and then slowly build up and add each exercise. And then it depends on your level of training. If you're a person who goes to the gym every day, yeah, sure, go pick 15, 20 exercises. So I think it's got to be modified to the individual. I bet you Dane could tell you all the exercise you could do to make a circuit, a variable on a day, and that's where he would come in. And, depending on your level, okay, you're good for 3, you're good for 10, you're good for 20, and, change it around. So, but I think the key concept is just get out, start doing stuff. And, depending on where you started prior to this, all this stuff that's been going on, and just carry on, and I'll keep you healthy and mentally and physically.
Dane, jump in. You got the exercises.
I got the key. So, it really depends on where you are, kind of like Vic said. For some people, it could be as simple as, carrying things around the house, going up and down the stairs, maybe, getting on a chair, sitting to standing over and over again. And that might be enough to challenge somebody. For other people, it might be something that's a little bit more dynamic. It requires a little bit more skill or a little bit more complexity in the movement. I find that one thing that I've seen a lot, especially with a lot of these at-home workouts without equipment, is that a lot of the demands I'm seeing are on the shoulders and on the core and on the lower body. And what I'm not seeing a lot of is pulling movements or movements that involve the musculature of the back.
Right.
And especially when we're spending a lot of time sitting at computers, maybe watching TV, some of those postural issues I think are going to start to become concerns for people. And it's hard, if you don't have any sort of external form of resistance. But I've seen, and kind of like Vic mentioned earlier in the episode, like even something like a bag of potatoes, or if you want to take a backpack and put a bunch of stuff in it, and you want to practice like pulling it toward yourself, so that you're able to start strengthening some of the muscles in the back. I think that's a really valuable piece of a workout that would be good for at home. I think that the traditional recommendation with pushing to pulling is that for each time we push, we want to pull, 2 or 3 times in response, so that we're fighting against some of that forward posture that we can experience. And again, especially with some of this at-home work. So I would encourage people to look at, things like squatting, lunging. If you're someone who's running and doing that for your cardio, maybe doing some single leg exercises as well, so you have some good single leg stability. Balancing on one foot is hard, especially if you're going to try to do other tasks while you're doing that hold on the one leg as well. So making time for some of that, and again, looking at the core, but again, also some of those postural movements. So even if it might be just, putting yourself up against the wall and seeing if you can tuck your chin and get your head back, or seeing if you get your arms to touch the wall, reaching up overhead or something like that, just so that we're looking at opening up the chest and strengthening the muscles of the back as well.
And that's a good point Dane makes, like we talked about the flexibility aspect. A lot of people can do yoga and, different things. And, you don't, other than a mat, maybe, learning a few exercises, maybe using the internet for a few things like that. That is one excellent workout. And, a lot of people do that. And it's not only a good stress reliever, it can also give you a good workout. And you didn't even need any weights. Yeah.
And I think that, there's a lot of movements, especially you're reaching overhead and things like that people don't do a lot day to day. And they become weak in those movements. They become strong in other ones. And that's where, when that imbalance exists, is really where we get injury. We end up in Dr. Sajhapal's office. So let's talk about you alluded to this.
You won't get in these days, Mike.
No, I won't. And I don't, hopefully I don't need you. But when it comes to what Vic was talking about with his family, Dane, how can exercise be used now as a way to bond with the people in your household, which after a while may become a bit of a struggle socially? What's your advice on that?
So I think when reflecting in some of my own experiences coaching younger athletes, I think that sometimes you might have to disguise exercise as play. You might have some kids who, if they have sport involvement or an athletic background, that they might be very keen and want to, actually exercise and be challenged. And then for others, it might be a means of creating some sort of game that's physically exerting that allows people to have fun at the same time while they're also moving and sweating and, getting some of those benefits that we've covered earlier in the show. I think that can be such a good way of connecting people. And I also think, especially when we think about family dynamics and, exercising with younger people in the family, is that it's a really good opportunity to reinforce positive exercise habits so that as we age, we maintain, that prioritization of exercise and knowing how it intertwines with wellness and how it makes us feel good. I think when we look at that, one thing to be really considerate of, and I've even talked about this in some capacity in working with people who are in physical education, is that we promote really positive habits with exercise in terms of not using it as like punishment or, shaming someone if they lose or if, they don't perform well in whatever game you're playing. Because if people start to have a bad time exercising, it might be something that they don't enjoy doing. But if you're able to really encourage and, and help people get better or look at some of the challenging parts of the movements as maybe learning opportunities that we can, again, form those really positive relationships with exercise and also with one another.
Well, for people that want to learn too, Dane, how can people reach out to participate in some of the fitness that you're doing online now?
So if folks want to keep up with what I'm up to in terms of my own exercise regimes, I think the majority of what I put up goes on Instagram. And my handle is Coach Woodsy, Woodzzy. So I'm usually sharing, again, what I'm up to, but also things that I think are relevant to the broader population. Last week I did a fundraiser on Facebook Live, so that was through my personal Facebook page, Dane Woodland, and anytime I'm doing anything online like that, I'm going to make it public, so even if people are or are not my friends, they can see it. And then finally, my workplace, Max Fitness, has a YouTube channel and also has a page on Facebook, and that's where they've been hosting workouts for both myself and other members on my team, and those are free and they're accessible to not only Max members, but to anybody who's going to look them up on social media, so there's lots of opportunities to get some workout guidance through them.
That's great. Well, I'm sure people will avail of that. It's very helpful, especially where people are at home with maybe not as much guidance as they typically would have. We're almost done. We're going to wrap up. A closing word from Vic and then Dane about what people can do to what they can actually come out of this situation as? Do you think they have a chance to improve their health, or what's your philosophy on this?
Yeah, definitely. I think, it's more important that, we stay connected with each other through these unprecedented times, and I think physical activity, will not only help mentally and physically, not only yourself, but your whole family environment, the community as a whole and that sort of stuff, your ability to handle and deal with what's going on. And, at the end of the day, if we're healthy and we stay healthy and we can make our community healthy and everybody else, I think overall we'll be better for it. And then the other thing is we got to keep track of the vulnerable. In terms of that, we all know individuals who are struggling, with mental health before this, are going to have difficulties. And, we're talking about an exercise, basic program, but we also got to be human beings and just be socially aware of those individuals and try and help them as much as we can.
Okay. And Dane, last words, about 30 seconds.
So I think just being aware of some of the things we discussed and also being aware of rest periods is really important. I think that some people, if they are kind of feeling bored at home, it's possible that they could actually start to overtrain. And that can also be counterintuitive. So taking rest days, just like we would rest if we were in a typical routine, going to the gym, listening to our body, knowing if I'm too sore to do something, maybe it's a day to work on mobility or to do that kind of recovery cardio, finding exercises that you find enjoyable and rewarding, and also finding a schedule, because so many of our lives are so unstructured right now that if you say, I'm going to get up and I'm going to work out, every day from 7:30 to 8:30, or maybe every day at lunchtime or something like that, just so you also add some semblance of structure to your life so that we can kind of maintain that flow as much as possible.
Well, thank you so much for that advice, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with everybody today. Dane, thank you for being creative and coming up with great solutions for people to be able to stay fit and healthy while they're at home. And, of course, Dr. Sajhapal, thank you and everybody else in the healthcare field for all the work you're doing and will be doing over the next little while. Well, that was today's show on the Health and Wellness Hour. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Wahl. We'll see you next week.